Hello, welcome to the Unit 4 of the online result-based monitoring and evaluation course delivered by Cloneshouse, Nigeria. This is Unit 4 of the week 3, which is the last unit actually. Just to quickly do a recap from Unit 1, where we discussed preparing a collection instrument, data collection instrument, preparing for analysis. Largely it being before you get to the field, or you go to the field, or before the enumerators go to the field, and some part are when the enumerators come back from the field. Then that was followed by Unit 2, which focused on, quickly, I call it a rapid quantitative analysis of your data sets right from the field, using the pivot table in Google spreadsheets, and also presenting it in a way that is quite catchy to the eye and simple as that. The third unit focused on qualitative analysis, where you have you do text analysis using MassQDA, and also that you can do a mixed method analysis with your data. So we've done all this using the data from our case studies, and now we'll be talking about auditing and supervision. So data auditing and supervision, it's interesting. If you're in this course, you can just do a reflection about how your organization organizes its data at first. So, for instance, when do you get monthly data? Do you get data at the time you need it? Do you measure what you're supposed to measure on time? Do you use rigorous methods to collect your data? Isn't it that at one point in time, while you want to present, you just realize that, one part of an important part of a data has not been collected, or that the indicator you're supposed to actually present and discuss isn't what you have on your desk. These are all issues that we face in our organizations, and this is what data supervision and auditing tends to solve as part of an M&E system. So in this unit, we will be trying to make sure that we are able to explain the difference between data auditing and supportive supervision. The two different things is important. Also be able to develop a guideline for supportive supervision and data auditing, then also to prepare plan for undertake or follow up after supportive supervision or data auditing process. So this unit is about supportive supervision and data auditing. So I'll be discussing supportive supervision, like a definition of what it means, and also data auditing, and also to look at the dimensions of data quality. So the 6 dimensions of data quality. Most times we talk about the quality of data. It is important to understand what we're talking about, the 6 components that data must have. Also how to undertake data verification, and steps to M&E supervision and data auditing. We're using both words together because they also go hand in hand. So M&E supervision, which is the supportive supervision, is the overall kind of activity, while data auditing is embedded in it. So also to note in this unit, I might be using data verification and data auditing together. So when I say either of them, it actually means the same thing. So Supportive supervision is actually having the M&E officer who is responsible for making sure that yes, every component of the system works in the way it's supposed to, and it's not about policing. So, but it's focused on the M&E system, the 12 components of the M&E system. If we remember the I think the second unit or the first unit, in week one, we discussed the components of the M&E system, the 12 components. So the supportive supervision is all about the 12 components, making sure that while making sure that, for instance, yes, we are able to get an organogram that favors monitoring and evaluation in an organization or in a project or in a program. It tries to look at, yes, we have a proper costed work plan, or an organization or the ones in the region have a proper M&E costed work plan or an M&E plan. It could also be, yes, the person in charge of supportive supervision, making sure that the evaluation officer is able to design a proper terms of reference for a particular evaluation. So it's basically a part of learning to an learning and support system of an organization, of the M&E system of an organization. So just to note that this supportive supervision is not about implementation of a project or a program. It is only about the implementation of the M&E system, so which is actually the 12 components. We discussed these 12 components. So the supervision is focused on each and every component that you see in here. Human capacity, which means, yes, those that are staff in the M&E unit. What exactly are they doing? How can we help them? What are the needs? So it's a supportive role inside a system on its inside an M&E system on its own. So and it focuses on learning and a whole lot of learning in the organization. So like learning, which means that yes, we are not there yet, but what can we learn from last year? How can we improve on what we learned, and how can we forge forward? And also making sure that every member of the M&E unit is also learning that as well. So that's what the supportive supervision is all about. Right from the point at which the M&E system is supposed to be initiated, this supportive supervision is being kickstarted. So you could think about, yes, how data is being disseminated, perceptions about M&E within the staff, and also what are the challenges and help that is being needed in an organization as it concerns the M&E system. I mean, this is what supportive supervision is all about. When you talk about data auditing focuses on the 6 data management processes in an M&E system. So, which in essence means that yes, in focus, what does it focus on? It focuses on the accuracy and completeness of these 6 data management processes. So, we mean right from the data sourcing to the collection of data, to the data collation, to when you analyze the data, to when you publish the data, and to when you use the data. So these 6 steps, which you find actually when you're conducting a routine monitoring system that collects data routinely, that is when data auditing becomes very important. Again, data auditing focuses on that part where you have the data management process. So if you think about it, like what it means is that yes, supportive supervision focuses on the green ring, the blue ring, and even at the point at which you want to use the information for results, or using information for better decision or decision making, while um, data auditing will only focus on this blue ring, which is the art of the M&E system. So that's just the basic differences between both of them, and it's important to factor in the data management process which data auditing focuses on. At each level of this is when you need data auditing, and you can think about, yes, data sourcing, for example, in a school program where yes, attendance registers of students are needed, and you always in data auditing is yes, going to the school and making sure, yes, if it's weekly, if it's monthly, depending on the resources available, you want to make sure that yes, that uh, register is always completed at the right time. They're collecting the right data, the name of the name of the pupil, perhaps the age or so. So you can think about that. Also, attendance registers of teachers. Then at the data collection stage is yes, are the data collectors collecting these registers? Are they collecting it um, in a timely way? Is what they are collecting, is it what they are supposed to be collecting? The data that are available on it, is that what they're supposed to be collecting? You could think about collecting exam results from teachers. For example, if they say collect results after 10 days of the exam, is it collected at that particular time? Also think about data collection where you're supposed to tally all the attendance register onto a school census record, perhaps maybe at the state level or at the regional level. Uh, is it being collected? Do you have all data at the particular time you're supposed to collate it? These are some of the things that data auditing does, looking at it, making sure that, oh, there's a complete data set on attendance register, for example, on test results that was carried out on maybe grade 6 students. So, I mean, data auditing takes place at that point in time. Um, Also, in analyzing trends, so data auditing has its own um, work cut out at that stage, during the stage of analyzing data, and one way is just which we did in unit 2, whereby you need to look at the rows and the columns, make sure there are no omissions, there are not duplications. So you carry out data auditing at that stage. Then at the stage of publishing data, are we publishing the right kind of data? Is that the indicator we said we wanted to look at first? Are we publishing against that? Are those the stories we are telling? And it also, data auditing can also be done when you want what you've published out to be used, or when is at the process of being used. You need to also audit the data as well, that perhaps might be with the commissioners or the ones that the commissioners want to use. So these are the different stages whereby you need data auditing um, as it concerns monitoring and evaluation. But yes, so I mean, I've mentioned some of this in the data management process, but it is important that every organization gathering data follows the data management process, but it is the role of the monitoring and evaluation department, unit, or the system that has been created to be able to audit each stage of this data management process for any program, project, or call it policy as well. But it uses the 6 dimensions of data quality. So, which means when we are, a whole lot of us do just mention, oh, we're not sure of that data, we're not sure of quality, we can't trust that data, we don't know where it's coming from. What we're actually talking about is the 6 dimensions of data. When you say you cannot trust the enrollment data for schools in a particular region or country, you're talking about the data quality. If you're saying, oh, the election results, I cannot trust the counting or the results that is being churned out, you're actually talking about data quality. If we're talking about, oh, we are not sure of the numbers of intensive care units that we have currently, it's a function of data quality. It means we do not have complete data. That's what it means. Some things are missing out in what is supposed to be reported. So in these dimensions, we think about accuracy, reliability, completeness, precision, timeliness, and integrity. 6 of them in all. But in different organizations, some does 5. And we will discuss all this as we go on now. So the validity. In week 4, we will be discussing internal validity and external validity of a design. So and what that means really is about you being able to measure what you're supposed to measure with the right tool. If you look at yourself and you want to measure, for instance, your weight currently, you will go and use a scale that is calibrated in pounds or in kilograms. You would not want to go and use maybe a scale that is calibrated in millimeters to measure your weight. So it talks about the standard way of measuring things, of measuring. What do you use to measure? Are you measuring what you're supposed to measure? For example, if you the valid measure for nutrition, for example, might be LD variation in diet. You cannot use age to measure that and say, oh, people that are within this age range are supposed to have good nutrition. It's not possible. You cannot do that. So one needs to be careful when you're doing that. So that's an example of what we refer to as validity, as it were. So, and you also want to think about if there's a reasonable assurance that the data collection methods being used do not necessarily bias the data. So maybe overcounting it or undercounting it. So, perhaps you're using a small sample size to make a judgment. Maybe in your program you already have about 2,000 people, but in your design you said you only use 10 people quantitatively. So one might want to question the validity of that particular program or of the method you're using. One might want to question it. So it's important to think about this as the instruments, the methodology that is being used to collate such kind of data to get response as validity. So that's what we in auditing we want to use this as a dimension to measure the validity of the data. So another one is reliability. When we say if data is reliable enough. So if you have used that word before, that this is not, I cannot rely on this data you have given me. So an example of what might have happened might be that in a program where the standard for collecting data changes, so which means that there's no constant data that is being collected across borders. So it might be a program by an NGO, and you find that in a month the NGO has used 3 different kinds of instruments to collect data. So which means it won't collect a consistent data. If you now go back there to the program and say you want to collect data, you might find another result from or a different response from the program. So in essence is that in reliability we mean that the protocol that you have used in collecting data must show consistency anytime one goes back to collect the same kind of data from the same program. So you cannot just stop using an instrument or change an instrument while you have developed one and said you're going to use it, because if you do that you might get another result. So it's better you even abandon that and start afresh and know that you have a consistent way of collecting data from your beneficiaries or from your population. So that talks about, I mean, in you looking at reliability, reflects stable and consistent data collection processes. So the data collection method that is used to measure and observe the same thing multiple times is the same result produced each time. So like you making sure same result is being produced all the time and of course borders. So you can think about that as reliability, looking at the reliability of the data collected. So you can think about completeness of the data. So completeness would mean that in a data set you might have age, gender, but you missed out on location, for example, or you from your sample size. I mean, those that are in your program, when you are collecting responses, where you're about to collect your response from those people, you missed out some part, especially if you have different demographics in your sample in your population. So you just missed out some parts from your sample size. So if you have worked with, for example, if you have worked with government, the CSOs, the media in your program, when you are now trying to collect responses or collect data or do evaluation, you now left the government people and only focused on the media and the civil society organization. So in that we say that the data collected isn't complete at all. So you think about precision as missing out on a particular indicator, for example. So that's what precision is all about. So you do not want to miss out on the most important indicator that you have defined for your project. So if you're saying you're looking at the percentage of households that are now using the chlorine distribution kit to purify the water. You now say by sex, for example, and when you are reporting, you now miss out on reporting it by sex. You just reported it via the household. So that means you're not precise as much as possible. That data is not actually precise. It means you're missing out something, and the data auditor should be able to inform you about that. Like, this is what this indicator defines. And most times what we do with that is trying to make sure program implementers are reporting the exact indicator that was defined before the program started. So in terms of the key performance indicators, making sure that those indicators are being reported and not missing out. And that's what we refer to as precision. In terms of timeliness, I know that yes, you might have encountered when an implementer is supposed to have submitted the key performance indicators for last month, but you just wait for like 2 months, you still can't get the data for the past 2 months, or it could be for a year, and you still have to hold on for some more months before they could submit the KPIs, the key performance indicators for that particular year. So I mean, and so many organizations are fall into this kind of trap in collecting data and be able to report it on time. So, which might mean that yes, the system in which they are using to collect the data is not reliable enough to produce that data at the time you need it. Also, that program activities might change, dimensions of it might change, so they might not be able to quickly report the indicators for the indicators for that. And also that yes, they might not know when the information might be used or is needed. So you get into this burst of timeliness of reporting such data. So it takes someone that supervises, that wants organizations to learn back and forth. If you're doing the auditing, you let the organization know so they can understand, like creating a perfect, not, you cannot have a perfect system anyways, but trying to have a system that makes sure that yes, key performance indicators are being reported against at least the 5th of the following month. So I mean, in routine monitoring data gathering, which is like gathering activity kind of data, we want to make sure that yes, by the end of the month, we can make a report out of what we've gathered in the month. So that's important. So in terms of integrity of a data set, this is so important. So for example, you might, and I mean, we've gotten to witness this a whole lot of time. For example, when implementers just want to meet up with the target that has been given in terms of the data, the data indicators. Maybe you've promised that, oh, we must, in this quarter, we're supposed to have recruited 1,000 beneficiaries. That was the plan. But I mean, you just kept on, because you needed to report against that, and that's what's on your face. You just put in 957, even though you do not have those numbers. And even when you have that numbers, the way you've collected it didn't follow the proper data management process. So that's an issue of integrity. Or the case might be that yes, authorized changes. I mean, and that happens. What I just said happened when there are no authorized changes to data, when the person that is supposed to authorize that data isn't there, or there are no checks and balances, or there are no safeguards in place to minimize data transcription errors. So, I mean, if you're working in a community, for example, that does not have internet, and you need people to collect data. So, for example, could be in, let's say, for example, in a financial inclusion project that is supposed to provide financial services to people in rural community. I mean, that's a difficult thing to do where you are supposed to collect data from unbanked people, right? And you have data clerks that are just collecting the data in different ways, different manners, not following proper data management process. And you use paper at times to collect the data. At times you put it on your computer. In fact, from transmitting it from paper to the computer takes time, and you miss out on so many data sets. So these are the issues. These are the issues and places where you say you have issues with the integrity of the data, or when you're trying to collect the enrollment rate in a particular state, and you finally end up in getting 4 different enrollment rates. At the school level, you got a different enrollment rate. At the local council level, you get a different enrollment rate. At the state level, you got a different enrollment rate, and at the federal level, you also got a different enrollment rate. And you think about, so why am I getting different enrollment rates? So I mean, probably for political reasons, for personal views, and all that. So I mean, you could think about this in different ways, except where you might not necessarily have this where you have a perfect routine monitoring data system. Also, this happens in birth registry as well, like getting to know the number of births in a particular council or location. You will need to face integrity issues with the integrity of such data as well. I mean, those are the 6 dimensions which we talk about, and these are things that are worth looking at. I think in our classroom, yes, we have some checklist from, yeah, you can check inside your classroom checklist from different development organizations like USAID, DFID, that has worked on creating checklists for quality data assessments during programs, which you can take a look at and use. And I think that will be useful for the work that you would be doing in the near future. And which leads us to, yes, how do you do data verification or data auditing itself? So you could do it via observation, which is you just trying to go to where the implementers are actually delivering the program and collecting data, just like I mentioned in the case of financial inclusion, where they provide services, could be in terms of loans, could be credits to rural women, for example, in a market, in a rural community, and they're trying to provide that in a market. You just observe on how they are collecting data of these women at the market. So, which is you looking at, yes, the data clerk collecting information, age, location, gender, name of the person, and other records that is being needed. And with that alone, you could tell if this data collection is following the proper data management process, and you could note that down. So, I mean, you could do that through observation as well. Also, you could just randomly request for data sets from such implementing partners and look at those documents they are using, the instrument they're using to collect the data. From there, you should be able to ascertain if they're following a proper process in that. in collection of data as well. So the third type is trace and verification. So which means that yes, if an implementer is reporting every month, for instance, if he reports 1,200 customers in month one, so in month two you want to go and verify those numbers. Yes, you will recount the numbers. Might be through visiting their headquarters or their office or wherever the system is placed, and you take a look at, oh, is it 1,000 actually? So you count the numbers. You can also verify those numbers with what they are, which is what you do with the reported ones, and see if there's any difference in between the two. So you could go by the way of tracing and verification. You could do cross checks. So which is, yes, you can request for other instruments which those data are. Some people, they do routine monitoring. So for example, an organization might say, oh, in the outreach they did, they had about 500 participants. While so they have an attendance register, right? So you might look at if part of their if they have said, oh, in their indicators, oh, we had 500 in month one, you might ask for their project reports or the attendance register and be able to cross check if that is right. So that's an example of what can be done. The fifth type is you just doing spot checks to just check about the delivery to a target population. So which is you just visiting where the project is going on and just making sure, yes, things are going on, they are doing what they are actually reporting, and that's spot checks. So this is how you carry out. These are the different ways you can actually carry out your data auditing. It could also be, you could think about vaccination exercise. Think about how you can use these 5 different ways to do data auditing of a vaccination exercise, maybe at the PhD level. Could also be at the secondary or tertiary healthcare level. So think about diverse ways you could do that, or in a community level where you have a vaccination, immunization, sensitization, and all. So different ways for you to carry out that. So in terms of supervision, which is the holistic approach to auditing, to making sure that things are in place, to making sure, yes, data follows the 6 data management processes. Also that yes, people planning and partnership is in tandem and is working, and the organization is working towards that. Then it's important. So these are some of the steps that one could take. So for example, selecting. So these are the 7. It's actually in form of steps, so you can think about having it as steps also within your organization, as well, if you want to conduct supporting supervision, especially if this is part of your system, your M&E system. And don't forget that we already said, yes, this is something that should be part of the M&E system. So first step is to select organization to be supervised. So you could think about yourself as a national M&E officer, for example, the Ministry of Health, which has different agencies that is reporting to your information system. So what that means is that yes, you could actually find an organization that is not reporting on time, for example, or you could find organization that requested for the ministry itself, the national M&E officer, to come join or supervise, or it could be that the the agency is not able to manage its M&E funds properly, or that, yes, you found out on your own that this agency is not reporting properly. They do not have uh, they've not developed a great system to capture in their indicators at the right time that is meant. So, I mean, you could actually conduct or, select organization in that way, and decide to supervise them. On the other side, you could be hired as a consultant to go and supervise an organization as well. So that's on the other side. So the second step is, yes, I mean, you need to develop a budget for that. A national M&E office normally has a budget for supervision and data auditing, so which you will want to factor in. Yes, regional ministries, departments, agencies that you will visit, state agencies, other private partners, then the civil society organizations that are partners. So, I mean, in you trying to create costing for supervision on its own. And don't forget, again, the supervision we're talking about is about the M&E system, and not the implementation of a project or program. Then you need to dig in and get more information about the organization itself, especially if they are the ones that have requested for supportive supervision, or that you have been asked as a consultant to supervise such organizations. So, I mean, you want to look at some things about the organization, which might include all correspondences with the organization, copies of previous supervision visits, if there has been any one of it, the name and contact of the M&E person who is within the organization. You can think about, yes, copies if they have monitoring guidelines, routine monitoring guidelines, advocacy materials, examples of data, and also data use reports that they have actually produced in the past. You could think about the protocol, if they have any protocol for routine monitoring, which means, yes, day-to-day activity data, how they collect such data, maybe from the field to the headquarters. These are all important information that you want to get while you embark on your supervision, or before you embark on visiting the organization. Then you set up a visit by, scheduling, having an appointment, and also letting the organization know why you're visiting, and also if there will be an outcome of such. Then you think about the main visit as well, which is like, the visit is always like a meeting, just to meet with the organization and and tell them why the visit is, and if you're going to do a follow-up, and you are supposed to, meet with the lead person in charge of monitoring and evaluation, if that is the case. Some organizations do not actually have a monitoring and evaluation person, so maybe it's a program manager or so that you will see at the meeting. You can ask how the monitoring data has been used before. They give examples if they have forms related to monitoring and evaluation, or some organizations do not. Most organizations might not have, but what they will understand is how the data flows within the organization to make proper decisions. So ask them about that. That's important. And at that point, it would be nice to also verify those data and make sure, which means auditing the data that they have, which will mean that, yes, looking at does the data they have the 6 dimension of data that we've talked about: validity, reliability, integrity, completeness, integrity, timeliness. Does it have that? Then do the processes, the protocol, also follow the data management processes from data source to data use? So these are some of the things you will want to look at during your visit, and also check whether records have been archived appropriately. So this is another way to check on organizations. Yes, I mean, most organizations now might have an archiving system for their data if you can retrieve it easily. So these are several things you do during the visit itself, just for you to ascertain. And I mean, it is during those visits you do that proper auditing that we're talking about. Then you provide feedback to the organization that you visited, especially perhaps by meeting with the M&E person or the program manager and discussing what you find out and also what they can do. You can also thank them for having you, and let them know what the follow-ups will be next steps as well. So, and on the last note is reporting back. You're doing a report of your supportive supervision to the organization, then the auditing of their data. What exactly are you seeing in terms of the protocols, how they have done from data sourcing to data use, and also the data itself, the dimensions of the data that you've seen that they have. So, I mean, these are important things to take notes when you're doing supportive supervision. And just to note that it's not, just to reiterate again, that it's not policing, but it's about, influencing change within that organization so that they can have a proper data management process and make sure that the data they are collecting follows the 6 dimension of data. These are very important for to have a robust component, a robust M&E system in an agency, organization, or in a department. So these are 7 key steps that are important for supportive supervision. So I mean, it's important to think about in rounding up supportive supervision, the difference between it and data auditing, knowing that supportive supervision is the overarching learning approach to developing an M&E system, while data auditing focuses on the 6 data management process, auditing the 6 data management processes from data sourcing to data use in it, and also that we've discussed the 6 dimensions of data. In terms of data quality itself, or validity, how valid instruments that are used, methodology that was used. We discussed the reliability of the data in terms of it being consistent, the collection responses gotten from beneficiaries being consistent across borders. If we do that collection at another time, then it needs to be complete. It needs to be reliable. We talked about completeness of the data, which is making sure you are collecting the right information, the needed information at a particular and not missing out. Then we discussed the timeliness, making sure that data is reported at the time it's supposed to be reported, and also that there's a system that allows that to happen at all times. Another dimension is integrity. the data that is devoid of political views or personal views. These are very important dimensions. And I mean, different ways in which you can also conduct data auditing. We discussed observation, how you can observe. We discussed tracing and verification. So looking at the numbers reported, making sure it's actually what they have in their system. Also cross-checking. Cross-checking what was reported as a KPI to what they have in their system. And also you could think about another way of data auditing is spot checks as well. So I mean, you have all this, and also we discussed the steps to supervision. So your task for this unit is for you to describe 3 activities each for data supervision, for supportive supervision and data auditing that you would carry out, where you would carry out 3 activities where you would carry out data supervision, and another 3 activities where you would carry out data auditing in the projects on your case studies. So 3. So for example, in supportive supervision in the chlorine distribution program, yes, we could conduct, there could be a supportive supervision even at the time at when every stakeholder is deciding on the key indicators that is needed. So you could have a supervisor looking at that. Could be external, could be internal. And think about an example of data auditing. I mean, that would be when we are collecting data from the household itself, the enumerators, making sure that yes, we are auditing the data at the point of collecting response in the households. So those are 2 examples, but you're supposed to give us three for each one of them. So I hope this is useful and interesting. Like I said, we have references, some good books where you can read more about the supportive supervision and data auditing. And in the classroom, we have all these books and you can enjoy it as well. And also that we have some templates and toolkits that you can use in carrying out data auditing as well. All this within the classroom that we're using for this course. If you want to join the course, please feel free to use the link. Here you can register here, and also email training@cloneshouse.com if you're thinking about a group booking, and you can do a call with just colleagues are just a call away and they can reach out. They will definitely respond to you. I hope this has been useful. It's the end of week 3. I look forward to having every one of you in week 4, when we'll be discussing evaluation designs and information use. Right now, I'd like to say have a wonderful time and enjoy the rest, and enjoy your days from wherever you're watching this from.